What impact is COVID having on cancer trials, research and screening at the moment? I imagine it's pretty much brought it to a halt, has it?
Yeah, Shane, good morning. It's having a disastrous effect. I mean, the cervical check, the diabetic retina screening, bowel screening and breast check screening, they ground to a halt in March at the start of the COVID crisis, and they're gradually being restarted, but breast check, I believe, still hasn't started. But I suppose of more concern are cancers that are detected outside of the screening process. And I take myself as an example there. I went to a GP with sciatica and came out with cancer. And there's so many people in this country that don't realise they have cancer. And as a result of COVID-19, still don't realise they're cancer.
Because they're not going to the doctor about relatively routine things, or what we think are relatively routine things.
Absolutely, Shane, absolutely. They're not going to their GPs with relatively routine things, as you say, and they don't know they have it. And by the time it's detected, it will have advanced to a point, possibly in some cases, where it's manageable, but just manageable, that people will have to live with stage 3, possibly even a stage 4 diagnosis. And even with the screening programs that are in place in this country, I think the last figures that were published in mid-July were 450 cancers and over 1,600. That's 1,600 pre-cancers were undetected at that point, and they were estimated figures, and that they don't include the cohorts that I just talked about there, which the numbers we're talking about here are huge. And you mentioned in your intro there about the cancer trials. You know, at some point in the future, that's what's going to keep me alive, hopefully, is a trial. And whilst the figures aren't available in Ireland with the NHS, the 1,500 trials have been closed, with over 9,000 trials suspended. That gives you an indication of the problem that we have here. It's absolutely massive, and it's something that I think that Minister Donnelly will have to get a handle on, and I've no doubt that the questions those questions will be asked of him later today at the COVID committee meeting. I believe he's up at 3 o'clock.
Just briefly, John, what would you like to see happen ideally?
I think the services have to engage with each other, but also it's hugely important that the cancer support services, which are largely run by the voluntary sector in this country, they need to start engaging with the system needs to start engaging with them, because it's a collective approach that's needed to treat all of us that rely on screening services, that rely on clinical trials. And, you know, whilst COVID has wreaked havoc and continues to wreak havoc in this country, and I'm not detracting for that for one moment, but cancer has been here for many, many years, and many of us are dying from cancer. And that can be prevented in a lot of cases, and we have a duty and a responsibility as a country to do what we can to ensure that doesn't happen. And in many cases, it can be avoided, but at the moment it's not, because, to put it quite simply, COVID is the only show in town.